dreams will be his final screen role, turns what could have been the ridiculous character of Masagal into one of utter fascination. It's through Masagal that the film's cynicism about the reasons men make war are expressed. Young Gregoire Collin, who made an impression in Before the Rain and Olivier, is also terrific as an intelligent man enduring a horrible rite of passage. For me, this is a 3.5-star film, mainly for Trintignant.
We're certainly agreeing tonight, Margaret. I agree with all of that. Fiesta opens in Sydney tomorrow, other states to follow. Peter Greenaway's extraordinary new journey into the world of exotic erotica is inspired by the pillow book of 10th century Japanese writer Sei Shonagon and revolves around the sensual adventures of a young woman, Nagiko, who, as a child growing up in Kyoto, was indoctrinated by her calligrapher father into the tradition of writing on human skin. As an adult, Nagiko, Vivian Wu, flees an arranged marriage and arrives in Hong Kong, where she becomes a successful fashion model and begins searching for lovers who are also calligraphers, eventually meeting an Englishman, Jerome, Ewan McGregor.
Our first transaction was strictly financial. He wanted to pay the bill, but had no money. He offered to write a check, but had no checkbook. I volunteered the palm of my hand.
With this visually sumptuous film, Greenaway once again explores the most arcane reaches of the world's art and literature to dazzling effect. This extraordinary director's bold vision, while it certainly demands the wholehearted dedication of audiences, is breathtaking in its beauty and mystery. Greenaway experiments, as he did in Prospero's books, with the very format of the film frame, this time altering the size of the screen image and imposing second, third, even fourth images on the main frame. Sacha Vierney's camera work is stunning. The soundtrack is intricately composed too. The actors enter willingly into the spirit of the adventure and bravely take part in some pretty explicit sequences. The Pillow Book is an adult entertainment which pushes back the conventional barriers of cinema itself. This is a trip well worth taking for the adventurous filmgoer. Margaret.
It is, but I saw it in Cannes, where you're running all the time and you're totally exhausted, and Greenaway is so demanding of you as an audience, because there are layers and layers and layers in this film.
But that's the wonderful thing about his work, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
Unlike most filmmakers today, he does expect a lot from you.
Yes, I mean, he does. He expects you to be intelligent and to meet the challenge that he's throwing out. I don't know that Cannes is the ideal situation to do that. So I think that you need to go totally fresh and you know, sort of ready to be assaulted on a number of levels to this film, but it is absolutely exquisite. I agree with you. It's not my favourite Greenaway, related very much to Prospero's books, I think, but I'd give this 4 stars. It's really wonderful.
Well, I think it's one of my favourites. I think it's a summation of his work, and I'm going to give it 5 out of 5.
人生には信ずることのできるものが2つあると思います。肉体と文学の喜びでございます。私はこの2つを共に十分味わう幸せに恵まれたのでございます。
Well, it's always a help to talk to Peter Greenaway about his intentions. His complex and challenging films benefit greatly from his insight.
上品なもの。
I'm a cataloguer.
狩りの子。
Most of my movies are about catalogues.
雨面を入れた氷水を新しい銀の器に入れたもの。
So I wanted to make a story where we could bring sex and text together in one place.
薄紫色に白重ねの飾り。
It's now 1996. In 996, exactly 1,000 years ago, there was a woman called Sei Shonagon writing the most exquisite, beautiful literature. But we shouldn't think she was academic or entirely archaic and completely irrelevant to us, because she was like a sort of proto-feminist.
の枕草子だ。自分を何様だと思ってるんだよ。
She wrote a diary, a journal, and she wrote it very delicately on beautiful paper in a typical Japanese fashion, and she put it in the little drawer inside her wooden pillow, and then she slept on it. Since most of her writing is about her lovers, she then, as it were, went to bed and slept in close proximity to her account of her lovers, and then dreamt about it all over again. Very sensuous woman, writing very beautifully, like Borges almost, very witty and sharp.
I became a wife. I married. I acquired a husband. Whichever way you say it, it was bound to end badly.
My heroine is a fashion model, basically, living in an artificial world. I suppose in typical Freudian terms, all the men she meets, in some senses, are father substitutes. And the other notion is, again, she is read as a child, as a bedtime story, these excerpts from the Pillow Book of Sir Shonagon. So much so that she begins to identify with the book and with the author, so she almost wants to be that. So these two themes become dominant in her life, the desire to be written on and the desire to identify with her literary heroine.
I feel that we are unable to consider publication of this material. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
I first of all had to have a convincing actress who could speak certainly an Oriental language and certainly English. And also I obviously had to find an actress who was prepared to be courageous enough to take her clothes off, literally, in so many situations, so we could use her body as a book.
I could not be sure which was more important, an indifferent calligrapher who was a good lover, or an excellent lover who was a poor calligrapher.
One of my big anxieties about the condition of cinema, that it's basically text-driven, it's not image-driven. And if, like me, you were trained initially as a painter, the business of making images is my business. But if we have a cinema which is text-driven, you always feel that you are illustrating, you are not making prime images. The hieroglyph. They say in Japan, the history of painting is also the history of literature. And you know the gestural mark of the hieroglyph is both an image and a text, one at the same time. So as you draw, so you write. Well, if I'm making a presentation of text on body, I want people to see that. So we need many, many examples.
This account clerk filled my back with additions, my front with subtractions.
I can now, I think, by using color coding, by shooting in black and white and in color and monochrome, organize a system where I hope I carry my audience with me, so I'm playing with this notion of memory, fiction, and text. So the technology then is only a tool, I mean, no more sophisticated than the pen you're holding in your hand. It's only, I suppose, the imaginations that use it is what's really important.
The erudite Peter Greenaway talking about The Pillow Book, which opens in a fortnight's time in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, with Adelaide, Canberra, Perth and Hobart following. Dendy Films have kindly given us 10 double in-season passes to give away in each city, and 2 winners will also receive 3 beautifully produced Greenaway books: The Pillow Book itself, The Baby of Macon and Rosa, his fictional tale.